everyone, and today we're going to talk about non-formal education. So non-formal education refers to the education that occurs outside the formal school system. It is often used interchangeably with terms such as community education, adult education, lifelong education, and second chance education. As non-formal education is diverse, this element has many aspects in common with other elements. But as a CBR personnel, we need to be aware that non-formal education reinforces marginalization and stigmatization. Marginalization means the treatment of a person, group, or concept as insignificant or peripheral, while stigmatization refers to the action of describing or regarding someone or something as worthy of disgrace or great disapproval. So if possible, it should not be offered as the only educational option for children with disabilities. Even if non-formal education is considered a second best option to formal education, it should be noted that it can provide higher quality education than that available in formal schools. Non-formal education can be preparatory, supplementary, or an excellent alternative to formal schooling for all children. So just like in Bangladesh, the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee operates over 50,000 pre-primary and primary schools throughout Bangladesh, serving more than 1.5 million children. The schools are usually one-room bamboo or mud houses and are located within a 1-kilometer radius of the student's home. The children return to formal schooling once they have completed courses in BRAC schools. Specialist disability, non-governmental organizations, and the government are assisting BRAC to remove barriers to inclusion by making school accessible by adding ramps, wider doors, additional bigger windows, providing training for teachers and other staff, providing assistive, low-cost devices such as hearing aids, glasses, wheelchairs, and creating learner-centered teaching materials and methods, including posters and storybooks that raise awareness, so making the whole environment disability-friendly. People with disabilities participate in non-formal education programs and learn a lot of skills such as literacy, numeracy, and others which contribute to better living conditions. People with disabilities, family members, disabled people's organization, and parents' associations are involved in decision-making and implementing non-formal education programs. Non-formal education expresses the core principles that should be at the heart of all good education. Non-formal education is all of the following. First is relevant. It is relevant to the learner's life and the needs of society and will be so in the future. Next is appropriate. It should be appropriate to the level of the learner's development with new content and experiences being introduced when the learner is ready. And next is flexible. Flexible in what is taught and how it is taught and to the needs of the different learners. Example, adults and children who work, who lives on the street, who are sick, who are in prison, who have a disability, or who are victims of conflict or emergency, and flexible to traditional indigenous learning styles.
To continue the report of Zelka on the key concepts. Participatory. In that learners are active participants in their learning, and that they and their families and communities are involved in running the non-formal education program. Protective. Of children from harm, and protective of their rights to survival and development. Places of non-formal education should be healthy and safe, and provide proper nutrition, sanitation and protection from harm. Inclusive. Of all children regardless of background or ability, respecting and utilizing the differences between them as a resource for teaching and learning. Non-formal education often targets marginalized groups, e.g. nomadic communities, girls, people with disabilities, school dropouts and working children. For students with disabilities and other marginalized groups, non-formal education is very helpful, responding to and fitting their needs. Quality. Non-formal education programs have the potential to be of exceptionally high quality because they can respond more easily to the needs of individuals and specific groups in the community. To ensure that the education will be both practical and relevant, we have to do the following. Prioritizes basic literacy and numeracy. These are basic skills that can be handy in daily living. Is oriented to practical skills, life skills and personal development, like cooking, sewing, gardening. Is effective in teaching decision-making skills. Focuses on vocational skills, income-generating activities and job creation. Examples are welding, dressmaking, baking and etc. Empowers students, instilling confidence and a sense of ownership in programs and projects. CBR programs can ensure that disabled people's organizations are involved in promoting the empowerment of students with disabilities. Promotes effective communication between students with disabilities and their families, peers and the community, e.g. through basic sign language, braille and speaking clearly. We have two examples of actual CBR programs, one from Bangladesh that will be told by Lisa, and the other one will be narrated by Kate from Nepal, on what are the policies implemented to ensure inclusive education for everyone, disabled or not.
Thank you, Michael. A second chance for an education. One non-formal education program in Bangladesh works in urban communities in large cities, such as Dhaka, Chittagong and Rajshahi. The program especially focuses on children working in the informal sector, often hazardous work, or living and working on the streets, and includes children with different impairments. The program consists of a condensed primary education program taught in half the time normally required in the formal system, and which is more relevant to the older age group, as children are older when they enter this program. It is second chance education for most of the students. Boys and girls of years and older are invited to the program. The classes are in 3 daily shifts to keep classes small and to allow children to continue to work and contribute to their family's income. After the primary education program, children can choose either to learn vocational skills at the program's part trade centers, on courses that take around 6 months of part-time training, or to apply for a technical training that takes 1 to 2 years. The non-formal education program also has job placement officers who help students with and without disabilities to find employment after graduating from the program. Policies also are essential in the successful implementation of non-formal education, as what happened in Nepal. Takeaway, Kate.
Thank you, Lisa. Access through policy actions. The policy on non-formal education in Nepal states, NFEC, Non-Formal Education Center, has made efforts to pay special attention to the people who have problems caused by their ethnicity, language, gender and physical disabilities, and make non-formal education programs inclusive. Policy. Inclusive education policy will be adopted to ensure access, quality and coexistence. The following policy actions will be adopted for the implementation of the above policy. Special educational and pedagogical measures will be adopted to eliminate caste, ethnicity, gender, language, and disability-related discriminations. Special arrangements will be made to ensure access to quality non-formal education for the children with various disabilities, conflict-affected children and adults, and child laborers. Now wrap up our report, Michael.
Thank you, Lisa and Kate. To continue our report. Help make existing non-formal education programs inclusive. CBR programs can identify existing non-formal educational programs in the community. This is a good platform where disabled individuals can learn alongside other people in the community. To make the program inclusive to individuals with disabilities, make sure that the place is accessible to them, welcoming, teaching materials are accessible, example, large print, braille, tape, audio facilities, and that students are supported in their learning. Not only identifying the existing non-formal educational programs, the CBR program also need to find out about existing non-formal education policies, who is responsible for implementing these policies, the current focus of non-formal education, whether people with disabilities are included, and whether grants or loans are available to enable them to participate. We are not asking a special treatment for people with disabilities, but a chance for them to participate in a community. Leaving them behind will not only make them a liability, but also a burden to their own individual family and the community. Disabled person or capable person if only given the right tool, training and support to do the job. Gyle will report the rest of the report for non-formal education topic.
This is the continuation of the non-formal education. First is sustain specific learning groups. Non-formal education programs that teach sign language can be an important support for deaf people and their families, particularly when deaf adults are recruited as teachers. community-based rehabilitation programs can ensure that the rights and the views of the deaf learners are respected, and these special provisions do not increase social exclusions and isolation from the family and community, but rather enable children to participate in family and community life. In Vietnam, Dung, young man from a village outside Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, he is a deaf and learned sign language and also learned how to read and write English. By the age of 25, he was working full-time and had a good life. Member from the Ho Chi Minh City Deaf Club and the leaders of a CBR project asked Dung to teach them English. $1 per lesson. They mastered the basic English over the next 2 years and then began working to develop and record their native sign language. Also, ensure community-based day centers are appropriate. Community-based day centers are often established to provide respite for parents who have children with disabilities needing 24-hour care. While these centers may be a great support for parents, often the quality of activities and learning for children is very poor. Next is facilitate links with formal schooling. Non-formal education programs tend to use different and more flexible curricula and teaching methods, which may enable learners to benefit. Without systematic links between the formal and non-formal education system, non-formal education may contribute to the segregation of people with disabilities. Next is the government outreach schemes. Home-based education for children with disabilities has recognized by the Indian government as an alternative form of education for those who have difficulty accessing schools or who are left out of the education system for some reason. This initiative of the government creates an effective links between the non-formal and formal education programs, facilities, inclusions, and provides new opportunity for learning. Lastly, non-formal and formal education sectors exist separately and have somewhat different ideologies. They can complement each other and can actively assist each other in many ways. The CBR programs can help to facilitate links by inviting leaders from both the formal and non-formal education sectors to join the CBR program in developing inclusive strategies, strengthening formal schooling by providing training for parents and teachers in making school inclusive and maintaining strong home school links, assisting with transitions from non-formal education programs to formal education, developing complementary non-formal education programs to help students with disabilities succeed in formal schooling, facilitating transitions to further education, sustainable livelihood, and courses offered by the non-formal sector, encouraging the sharing of buildings and facilities. Example, non-formal education programs can use school buildings out of ours. And lastly, encouraging staff from both non-formal education and formal programs to share their services and experiences. That's all. Thank you.